What's going on, guys? This is Nick with Teach All Tech Tuesdays. First, I just want to hope everyone had a very Merry Christmas. And this week we're going to talk about why a lot of people are suing Apple and what you can do to speed up your iPhone or iPad after you've had it for over a year. So recently, Apple made news about a feature that a lot of people didn't know about in the operating system called Power D. And essentially what this is Apple trying to preserve your battery life by slowing down the performance of your phone after the battery has degraded. And this happens over time. As you charge up your phone and run it down, then charge it up again, the battery slowly starts to hold less and less. There's some things you can do to counter this by running it down only once a month or so and keeping it charged as much as you can. However, after you've had it for a year, and especially after you've had it for close to 2 years, the battery life on the phone is going to be considerably worse than when you originally got it. So this is pretty interesting because the news actually broke a couple years ago. People would talk about their phones slowing down after they've had it for usually a year, especially after 2 years, because I don't know if you guys remember, but that's how long people used to keep their phones for, sometimes even longer. But since Apple releases a new iPhone every year, it kind of makes sense for them to do this. So a lot of people would say this is just a conspiracy theory, this isn't something that Apple's actually doing, but now after the developers have found it in the code, it's pretty hard to say that they're not doing this. This kind of makes sense from Apple's perspective because they don't want people to have phones that die really quickly, but at the same time, as from the consumer end, you don't want to have your phone doing something that you can't control or turn off that affects the performance. So the best way to fix this is actually by replacing the battery, which you can do by taking it to an Apple store. They will do it for you for a pretty hefty premium. However, there are third-party places like Gizmo Doctor or Solaris who do typically screen repairs, and a lot of them also replace batteries on the phones as well. So after you replace the battery, this resets the Power D into thinking that you have a fully healthy battery, so you'll be able to get the full performance out of your device again. Understandably, a lot of people were pretty mad when they found out about this feature though, so there's actually a couple class action lawsuits against Apple about this right now that you could jump in on if you wanted to. Just to add to the fun for this week as well, Apple so far has declined to comment on this issue. They're not saying whether this is something they actually do, they're not denying it. We don't know what Apple's position on it's going to be. However, the developers who took apart the code saw this in there and saw that it is activated. So it's pretty undeniable that this is happening on the iPhones, especially the newer ones. So if you notice that your phone is kind of slow and you've had it for over a year, this is something you can do to actually speed it up pretty cheaply in terms of instead of having to buy a new phone, which could be several $100s. Usually the battery itself is pretty cheap and you could actually look up a guide to install it yourself if you're that kind of person, or you could just take it to one of the places I mentioned and they'll be able to do it for you too. Also, just to throw in for you guys who've been following me for a couple weeks now, I just graduated from North Georgia with my bachelor's degree in business management with a minor in entrepreneurship. So I'm pretty psyched about that. I'm going to be moving back in with my parents for a couple months to save up money until I can move out. So the scenery for the videos is going to change, but the content will stay the same. Thank you guys for watching this week. Again, I hope you guys had a great Christmas, have an even better New Year's, and tune in next week for Teach All Tech Tuesdays. Thank you.